Let's jump over here. Someone requested that I look at this Noam Chomsky video where he says the Soviet Union versus socialism. And for those who don't know, Noam Chomsky is a bit of a scumbag. I guess let's check this out. Let's see what Noam Chomsky has to say about the Soviet Union.
We should recognize what I think is true.
Eli Walls, right off the bat, says, this one sucks. Oof, this one. Are you talking about my segment or just this video in general of Noam Chomsky?
Written about it plenty myself, that the Bolshevik Revolution, so-called revolution, it was really a coup, was really a counter-revolution, which placed state power.
Eli Walls clarifies he sucks, referring to Noam Chomsky.
In the hands of a highly authoritarian, anti-socialist group, which within a couple of months had destroyed the factory councils, had destroyed the Soviets, had dismissed the Constituent Assembly because they knew they were going to lose, and had eliminated every popular movement, and had done exactly what Trotsky said, turned the country into a labor army under the control of the maximal leader. That was mid-1918. I mean, since then, there hasn't been a shred of socialism in the Soviet Union.
Since then, there has not been a shred of socialism in the Soviet Union. Now, he's not taking the not real socialism route. He's taking it a step further and saying there was not a shred of socialism. There was no socialism in the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. Now, anyone who has a kindergarten level, a preschool level education and understanding of the history of the Soviet Union knows that this is bullshits, considering their collectivization of farms and agriculture, their complete state control over the entire economy, their routinely failed 5-year economic plans, but no, not a shred of socialism. And anyone who's read any of the primary documents from goons like Lenin and Stalin would know that they were trying really hard to apply the ideas from Karl Marx's Communist Manifesto to the societies that they controlled. But according to Noam Chomsky, not a shred of socialism.
Now, of course, they called it socialism.
Call them socialists.
But they also called it democracy. You know, they were people's democracies, the purest form of democracy. They were socialism. The left, the West, the big propaganda system in the world, of course, just laughed at the democracy part, but it loved the socialism part.
Yeah, take that, you dumb Western capitalist democratic countries. You know, what do you think? No, they also call themselves democracies. Oh, cell phone. Now, I said self-own, but when I say it too fast, it sounds like cell phone. Cell phone, like an iPhone. Self-own cell phone. This ignores the fact, let's bring this up. Federalist 10, which was written by James Madison, talks about the problems with pure democracy. The founding fathers of the United States of America did not want a democracy. They want what they called a republic, with a constitution, with democratic elements, but not pure democracy. From this view of the subject, it may be concluded that a pure democracy, by which I mean a society consisting of a small number of citizens who assemble and administer the government in person, can admit to no cure for the mischiefs of faction. A common passion or interest will, in almost every case, be felt by a majority of the whole. A communication and concert result from a form of government itself, and there is nothing to check the inducements to sacrifice the weaker party or an obnoxious individual. Hence, it is that such democracies have ever been spectacles of turbulence and contention, have ever been found incompatible with personal security and the rights of property, and in general have been as short in their lives as they have been violent in their deaths. And there's a lot more on this subject in Federalist 10, which I recommend you people check out. And I notice a lot of apologists for communism will say stuff like, well, actually, the dictatorship of the proletariat was actually just supposed to be a transitionary phase into a stateless society, so real communism was never achieved. A lot of communists, a lot of modern-day Marxists, I've noticed non-compete, big YouTube Marxist, Thought Slime and Hassan Proletariat Piker of the Young Turks, they've all have described themselves as anarchists and wanting anarchy. So yeah, it's easy to point to countries like the Soviet Union that was trying to practice dictatorship of the proletariat and say, well, they never got to the stateless society, so we never... Well, here's the problem with that, is that anarchy is an impossible ideal. It is unachievable. So it's very easy for dishonest defenders of socialism to use this get out of socialism free card to say, well, that wasn't real socialism.
Because that's a way to defame socialism. So if you think that the fall of the Soviet Union is a blow to socialism, you ought to also think on the same grounds that it's a blow to democracy. After all, they call themselves democracies too, so why isn't it a blow to democracy? Makes as much sense.
Well, democracy is never an ideal.
It's only when it gets filtered through the Western propaganda system that it's not a blow to democracy, but it is a blow to socialism. But, you know, there's absolutely no reason to play that game, whether you play it in dissent.
Yeah, there's no reason, because democracy is not preferable either. So another reason why I reject democratic socialism, DSA, Democratic Socialists of America. They're trying to sugarcoat socialism, because democracy. A lot of people are brought up to understand America as a democracy. People say, "Oh, our democracy is in jeopardy." Well, America was never meant to be a democracy. Again, as I just illustrated with Federalist 10. But a lot of people think that, so they think if you could just throw the word democratic on a bad idea like socialism, democratic socialism, oh, wow, this sounds a lot better, haha. It's democratic now. Oh, so the majority gets to vote away your property and your money, huh? Well, no, actually, we just want whatever Denmark has.
Or in the nation or on the right or anywhere else. Expose it for the fraud that it is.
Speaking of frauds.
What ideology? The ideology of totalitarianism? Yeah.
Of course, a lot of defenders of socialism like to point to... They'll say the Soviet Union, it wasn't real socialism, guys. Cut it out, okay? Stop it. It wasn't real socialism. But then they'll do shit like this. Let's bring this up. Let's bring up this book. It's called Diary of an Anti-Chomskyite, which is another book I recommend. I think I only bought it for like $8 or something on Kindle. And this is a series of blogs from someone named, I think his name Benjamin Kirstein. They'll say, the Soviet Union wasn't real socialist. But then they'll defend the Soviet Union by saying that they were the real winners of World War II, right here. This is a quote from Noam Chomsky, saying that the United States and Britain fought the war, of course, but not primarily against Nazi Germany. The war against Nazi Germany was fought by the Russians. The German military forces were overwhelmingly on the Eastern Front. You see that, and then they'll also pull up other shit like, oh, the Soviet Union, it industrialized really fast, so you should give them credit for that. It was really big economic growth, but again, it wasn't real socialism. They want it both ways. So I guess according to Noam Chomsky, Soviet Union wasn't real socialism. Also, they were the real winners of World War II. Okay, buddy. Also, another key thing about Noam Chomsky is he's very anti-American, especially when talking about foreign policy. There's another quote in here. Someone asked, would you consider leaving the United States permanently? And Noam Chomsky said, no, this is the best country in the world. Country that he ultimately likes to talk about as if they're the greatest evil in the world.
It's deeply flawed. I mean, they were the initial modern totalitarians. It has nothing to do with socialism. They destroyed socialism within weeks. You know?
Within weeks, you guys.
They didn't wait. By 1918, it was finished.
Finished?
And they knew it, you know? Like, it's not a secret. They knew it. I mean, in fact, Lenin, as soon as he sort of got grips of things after, he said, he moved to what he called state capitalism.
Oh, Lenin, he was really a capitalist, you guys. He imposed state capitalism. So everything that the Soviet Union during and after Lenin. It was capitalism's fault. Isn't that convenient?
Which is what it was. It had nothing to do with socialism. Socialism, I mean, you can argue about what, there's no point arguing what the word means, but what it always meant at the core.
No bother arguing what the word means. Well, what it meant to them was the abolition of private property and a dictatorship of the proletariat. A lot of people will say the public ownership over the means of production, or the worker control or worker ownership of means of production.
Was that producers take control of production.
Producers take control of production.
No, working people take control.
Working people, okay.
Control of production, what's sometimes called industrial democracy. That was
no, it's industrial democracy. Make up your fucking mind about what words mean. This guy's apparently the leading linguistic in the world. Socialism, it's producer control, worker controlled. Well, it's actually called industrial democracy. Which the fuck is it?
Absolute core of it. Well, you know, there was more socialism in Germany, in Western Europe, than there was
Western Europe had more socialism than the Soviet Union.
In Russia. You know, Russia's about the most...
They were the state capitalists that apparently won World War II instead of Western Europe.
Anti-socialist place you can imagine since 1918. Had wage labor, had super exploitation, had no element of workers' control or involvement or participation. Well, it's pure, you know, what's it got to do with socialism? It's the exact opposite on every point. As I say, the West liked to call that socialism while laughing at the fact that they called themselves Democrats. But that's for purely propaganda reasons. I mean, unless you're committed to being part of the Western propaganda system, there's nothing...
Yeah, it's just propaganda, you guys. Now, I would, again, I would classify the United States in particular as a constitutional republic with the democratic elements, but I would not classify it as a democracy. So, yeah, that's Noam Chomsky for you, with his not real socialism nonsense.